Winning at sports and at sports broadcasting means changing things up.
Just like La Quinta Inns and Suites is changing up their look.
A renovated lobby that's so contemporary it even makes Golic look cool.
Yes, it does. And a totally updated fitness center that even has Wingo feeling like a workout.
I'm ripped. Plus plenty of comfortable spaces to hang out.
Yep, this La Quinta look definitely has a vibe of victory.
So you can just relax, refresh, and get ready for your next big meeting.
Prepare to win at business with La Quinta Inns and Suites.
Book now at LQ.com.
This is the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast.
Good Tuesday, everybody. Glad you are with us. Welcome into Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Trey Wingo, Mike Golic Jr. That was Chief Keef with I Don't Like, so I've been told.
No, it's on your workout.
Absolutely.
I thought that one came straight.
There we go.
Oh.
Wow, strong start. Strong start.
Unbelievable.
Horrible.
I saw someone, I finally heard someone use it on one of you guys the other day, though, so I at least know that the system's got some merit now.
But thanks for bringing it back to the mean.
Good job.
We appreciate that.
No, I try. I was taking the heat off of you for having absolutely no idea who Chief Keef was, because I knew that wasn't going to be a conversation.
I mean, that was a huge part of it. Look, it makes sense that Cliff the Musical Wizard will put that in, because apparently nobody's getting along right now.
Yeah.
Nobody's getting along right now.
That's exactly right.
We got Jason Kidd fired in Milwaukee. Apparently, everything's Kevin Love's fault in Cleveland, and nobody can get along between Kawhi Leonard and his people in the Spurs.
Oh, it's going everywhere. Kemba Walker
makes all the sense in the world.
Bummed out he may get traded in Charlotte. You got Damian Lillard meeting with the owner in Portland saying, what the hell's going on here? There's a whole lot of that going on right now, but nothing like a team meeting that we're going to get to when everybody zeroes in on you like they did on Kevin Love. Holy smokes.
Yeah, that one escalated pretty quickly for Kevin. Just after I sat here with you guys the other day and said I was so proud of the Cavaliers for avoiding the easy temptation of blaming Kevin Love for everything that's gone on.
And there they go.
Of course, they turned right around and
got in that meeting. Everybody started looking around and decided, it's you, Kevin.
Yeah.
It's you.
It seems like it happens every year with him, right? I mean, he seems like a likable guy. I mean, he seems...
my God.
Right?
LeBron went to UCLA and was working out with them all summer, putting it on Instagram, and now it's just right under the bus.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know. It just always seems to go back to him for some reason. So we'll get into that.
Yeah,
Look,
we will.
We got a lot of great guests coming up today. At
Lot of
7:30, Ed Rendell, former governor of Pennsylvania and mayor of Philadelphia, will join us. Massive Eagles fan.
Huge.
Huge Philadelphia sports fan. And he actually does some analysis, believe
Yes,
it or
he
not,
does.
himself.
Yes, he does.
He'll be with us. Adrian Wojnarowski, our fine ESPN NBA insider, the host of Who's Bitter Now, I believe is the name of his new show.
How about it?
He'll join us to talk about what the heck's going on. And by the way, the team that has to be loving all of this is Golden State. Y'all just figure it out. We're good. We're just going to go through our little motions here. You guys have your little squabbles. We'll see you in May. You know?
They get 82 live practices while everyone else fights amongst themselves.
Yeah. Just crazy.
We'll see in the finals, whoever it is.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You figured out amongst yourselves who you want to meet in the West with us and who you want to bring over from that other conference, and we'll take care of it.
You know what? The NBA Finals is essentially going to be like that last kick in the Minnesota Saints game where they have to trot someone out on the defensive side just to execute the play so that they can ultimately hand them the win at the end of this.
Yeah. That sounds about right. And hopefully Thomas Morstead will not be playing nose tackle again like he was on that extra point. Keyshawn Johnson will join us at 8:30. And Adnan Virk will join us. Adnan obviously very excited about something non-sports related.
Yes.
The Academy Award nominations are coming out.
Well,
it's award season.
It's exactly right. It's award season. It's the most, self-congratulatory group out there that likes to pat themselves on the back and take care of all the social issues in the world as well. So it's their season. It's their time to shine.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. All right. How do you really feel?
If I got to read one more time about what some celebrity thinks about something going on in the world, why do I care? In all honesty, why do I care?
Well, let me ask you a question.
Really?
That's on the material. That's on the material you choose to read.
Yeah. Well, that's
Yeah,
you
exactly.
do go down that road.
Yeah,
Hey.
I say you're the one picking up the Enquirer off every rack
Somebody
you
has
can.
to keep the rag magazines in business, and that's what I do.
But then you can't complain about it.
Sure I can.
No,
Exactly.
You
Absolutely
can't
I
support
can.
it and then so, this is terrible, I'll take 4 of those.
No,
No.
give me more of the terrible so I
see,
can mock it.
That's one of those things. Best relationship advice I ever got was if you go looking for trouble, you might find it. You go courting trouble and then complain when it's there.
That's the thing about those magazines is you read about the train wrecks of some of the lives and you feel better about yourself.
Okay.
That's the
Certainly
beauty of
one way
it.
to go.
Yeah.
You know what? We're now blaming you for all this.
Yeah.
We're all
But I
blaming
certainly
you.
can't wait for another celebrity's take on the world crises out there. I think
Okay.
that's just
All
fantastic.
right. All right. Let's steer this ship back on control, okay?
Yikes.
We are on ESPN Radio and ESPN News right now as there's a great quarterfinal match going on in the Australian Open between Rafa Nadal, the number one seed, and Marin Cilic, a finalist at Wimbledon a year ago. And when the Australian Open coverage is done on ESPN2, we will be back with them on the TV side. So we've decided that everything is Mike's fault. And
Yes, it is.
we got a lot of bitterness in the NBA. So let's get through the rest of it with the start of the show.
It's time for Off the Top
Whether you like it or not, it's just beginning.
with Golic and Wingo.
And we start in the NBA with non-bitterness related news, I guess, instead
Yeah.
of just actual production.
Good play.
DeMarcus Cousins had 44 points, 24 boards, and 10 assists as the Pelicans rallied from 17 down with 5 minutes to go to beat the Bulls in double overtime.
See, here's the beauty again of a list. He's the 5th different player to do it, and the first since Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in 1972. So you have Elgin Baylor did it once. Oscar Robertson did it once. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar did it once. DeMarcus Cousins now did it once. And then there's Will Chamberlain.
Always by himself.
He did it 6 times. I mean, the dude, it's ridiculous. That's the most fun of
Yes.
these things. Listen, a great performance by Boogie there, but I mean, it just then brings you back to just how dominant Will Chamberlain was. But you sit there and look at the Pelicans. What are they sitting in the 6th slot right now? Because you keep wondering, when is that team going to, is these 2 big guys going to do something for them? Will they build around them? Or are these 2 pieces that are going to end up on somebody else's team between him and Anthony Davis at some point?
And, listen, this kind of production comes when AD's not playing last night, so you get to be the only show in town. My thing about this list is it hasn't happened for what? This is the first time in 46 years? I mean, the last
72.
time was in 72, so think about the offensive forces that we've had come through this league, bigs and otherwise. I mean, a guy like Shaq, all the guys along the way, some of the most dominant forces in the NBA, and this is the first time it's happened since then. That is one of those where the list is actually more impressive, I think, than just the sum of its parts.
That's a really good point, especially the big guys. You start listing off the big guys that played between 72 and now, and it's an impressive amount before that position kind of went away to what it was to what it is now. And for it not to happen in that long, that is pretty impressive by Cousins.
But again, going back to your point about Wilt, the stat last week, we talked about another Pelican, Anthony Davis, who had back-to-back, I think it was 40 and 15 games on the road, 40-plus points, 15 boards. Everyone else did it, and Wilt did it 11 times.
Oh, yeah. It's ridiculous. Just ridiculous.
He always, and I mean always, stands alone.
Off the Top.
More NBA news. The Bucks said goodbye to Jason Kidd, firing their head coach Monday prior to the team's win against the Suns. Kidd, who was in his 4th season, rarely had his major pieces available at the same time, which include, obviously, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Jabari Parker, and Chris Middleton.
Yep, they had not played 1 minute together over the last 2 seasons. Those 3 have not played 1 minute together over the last 2 seasons. And in the 646 minutes the Bucks have played this season without the Greek Freak, they basically have been last in just about everything offensively and defensively as well. So, but it wasn't the longest tenure in the world, but it brings up that question that we talk about a lot over the years on the show about great players. Can they make great coaches? And the list is very, very, very short.
Well, and players like him and Derek Fisher that did it immediately after their playing careers. And it's one of these things that we see this all the time in football. What will teams do? They'll try things out early in the game, whether it's a play or a blitz. And if it works early, they'll keep going with it. We saw young head coach and Sean McVay succeed in a way that might merit more of those in the NFL. You wonder how this affects that chance going forward of them taking chances on more players coming right out of their career. as successful NBA head coaches. It's very interesting. There's a lot of this that's actually interesting.
You sit there and talk about great players, all-time great players that really don't go into coaching because they want to be GMs or maybe owners. Maybe they don't want to go into coaching because they're rarely successful.
That's very true.
I mean,
Larry Bird is the one that comes to mind.
He's the last one in the NBA who we think of between Jason Kidd and now of one of the great players and success in the league. It was certainly Larry Bird. And Larry Bird stopped. Because part of it was he couldn't deal with the fact that these guys couldn't do what he wanted them to do.
Well, I think that was what you always talked about with Reggie White, where guys are so great that they have this disconnect between trying to explain and help parlay that greatness into other people who just can't do it.
We did. One time at practice, our D-line coach, Dale Hopp, said, Reggie, why don't you teach that rip and hump move that you use to the rest of your D-linemen, the rest of your buddies here? And he tried to do it and started talking his way through it, and at one point said, I have no idea how to teach it. I just do it. Yeah. So, and you do it well.
Yeah. By the way, and good for you.
Yeah, that's exactly
Not
right.
so good for us trying to learn.
Really.
But that's across every sport. You look at a lot of successful coaches in the NFL. They're not great players. John Gruden's famous line was he hated the fact that as a player, he called himself just a ham and egger. He wasn't any good.
Well, you understand for a lot of those guys, they have to do the whole. They have to understand their position, others' positions, the positions they're going against. They need to do everything because they're not just a good enough athlete to just line up and just destroy somebody. They have to know all that's going on, and that can translate over into coaching as well.
They have to find a different way to get it done and teach those things to everybody else on their roster. By the way, more on this Jason Kidd story coming up we'll discuss later because Giannis Antetokounmpo apparently called him and said, hey, you're getting fired.
Yeah.
What do you want me to do? And now it becomes, okay, if they fired someone that obviously Giannis, their best player, loved, what's going to be the disconnect going? I know he signed that mega extension, but then that puts into play, okay, how do we keep players? How do we bring players here? I mean, it's going to be interesting for the Bucks going forward.
Off the top.
Moving on to college basketball. Trae Young, the number 12 Oklahoma, hosts number 5 Kansas at 7 Eastern on ESPN. Young, who's coming off a Big 12 record type, 48 points Saturday, leads Division I with 30.5 points and 9.7 assists per game.
Yeah, both of which lead, as you mentioned, Division I. No players ever finished the season leading Division I in both those categories since assists became an official stat in 83-84. Right now, Kansas 6-1 in the conference. Oklahoma 5-3. Oklahoma is 9-0 at home, but Kansas is 7-0 away from home. So something's got to give, as they say. This kid's fun to watch, bottom line.
He is, and it's interesting now that the conversation has shifted not really to, all right, us talking about how great he is or us even talking about his faults, but the discussion of how to discuss him and him coming out and saying, I think people forget I'm only 19 years old, gets us into this interesting category of how are we supposed to judge these guys? Because traditionally, especially in basketball, where we saw guys his age turn pro for a long time, guys that were used to in the one and done having their eyes on this, judging them like men when they are in fact kids who in some cases might still be sculpting their game.
The only problem on that side is history goes against him because 19-year-olds are going into the NBA every year and having success. So when that happens, then it's put on that age of, okay, guys are doing it at this age, so we're kind of expecting it now. Maybe it isn't the fairest thing in the world, but you're seeing example after example of 19-year-olds being successful at the highest level.
And now is it going to make people look at him as lesser because he's highlighted this, because he said, listen, guys, I'm still young and trying to figure this out. Does that become, for some people, he's not ready to take on what's coming next?
Well, look, I think the bottom line here is that not every 19-year-old is the same. I mean, I think it's very refreshing for Trae Young to say this because we look, whether we're fans somewhere or all of us in the media, whether on television, radio, however you want to do it, we look at them and we look at these players as widgets. We look at them as a product sometime and not a person, and I think all of us can go back to when we were 19. Hey, we didn't have it all together.
Yeah.
Okay, let's be clear about that. The ones that do, they're the outliers. They're the ones that are on the outside of the spectrum that are held to a different standard because how are you doing this? How are you putting this all together? And when we do the NFL draft, people just say, "Oh, he's a plug. This is a product I'm going to plug in and put here." No, it's a person with real actual stuff that goes on in their lives. And that's okay.
Didn't you hear, Trey? It's a farm system.
Yeah, well, we'll get into that.
Yes, it is a farm system.
Maybe that might have been the most honest thing anyone's ever said, and I'm not sure a lot of people that are running said farm system are really happy that he said it.
By the way, is anyone shocked that Trey is defending another Trey? This just seems like one of those brotherhood type deals.
Jump to his defense rather quickly.
It is not Trey Wayne's fault that the Vikings secondary was just torched. I want to be clear about that.
Here we go.
I'm just saying, let a 19-year-old sometimes be a 19-year-old. It's not the worst thing in the world.
Novel concept.
There you exactly. What appreciation for something besides the uniform that he plays in. It's crazy. All right, that was off the top. And now we get into something that is going to be talked about a lot. We'll have our fine ESPN NBA insider, Adrian Wojnarowski, coming in a little bit later. But apparently it's continuing to have all kinds of issues. Cleveland is playing tonight, and they take on the Spurs. So it's a bitter game. Which team is more upset with each other game, I guess.
Two teams that we wonder if they could dethrone the Golden State, can't get out of their own ways right now.
I feel like they're trying to dethrone themselves at this point. So again, the story by Adrian Wojnarowski, the Cavs apparently had a fiery team meeting in the practice facility locker room prior to Monday's practice, during which several teams challenged the legitimacy of Kevin Love's illness that led him to leave the game Saturday that they lost to Oklahoma. Here's Woj trying to set it all up.
It was a fiery scene in that Cleveland locker room before practice on Monday, I'm told. Essentially, a large part of the group accusing Kevin Love of essentially bailing on them. He left ill in the Oklahoma City game on Saturday, left the arena early, did not go to practice Sunday, still sick. And they had a team meeting. They brought in the coaching staff, the front office, and several players pushed at the coaching staff at the front office to hold Love accountable, to hear exactly why he was gone. Love did talk to the group. I'm told in the aftermath of Love explaining himself, there was a better feeling about it, but there is a culture of finger pointing that is going on in Cleveland right now. This locker room is divided. This organization is really teetering. Kobe Altman, their general manager, is very active in trade talks right now.
Wow. A couple of things there. One, you don't normally hear it's a player-only meeting. This was not a player-only meeting. This was players, management.
They brought in management, coaches,
everybody getting in. But hearing Woj say that, two things come to mind. One, okay, obviously they feel better about whatever Kevin Love had to say, but there is something fundamentally different if they were questioning Kevin Love to begin with, correct? Isn't that the bigger issue?
And I'm looking forward to talking to Woj about this.
And he'll join us later on this morning.
I have a hard time believing, and this is what happens in team meetings. I know, Mike, you've been a part of them. I certainly have been a part of them. This is what happens. What's the topic discussed of why we're so bad? And a lot of times it's an ancillary topic that comes up that ends up being this. Do we think going into this meeting that this was the headliner? That it was why Kevin Love left a game on Saturday when he was sick or left the arena and then was still sick and didn't go to practice? And to me, this sounds like the classic, you go and have a team meeting on why we're so bad right now, and a lot of topics come up, and then one comes up that you grab onto. And this seemed to be the one that everybody grabbed onto. Maybe it wasn't meant to be the main topic, but ended up being the main topic. And that's what happens in these team meetings, because you open the floor up and you let everybody have their say. And sometimes some things come out that can help that you didn't think of, or that, like, where the hell did that come from? And what good is that going to do? And it gets people kind of, yelling about that, and sometimes causes more harm than good. Now, maybe this one caused more good than harm, but I have a hard time believing that this meeting was for the sole reason was, hey, let's ask Kevin Love, why, and make him, explain why he left the arena being sick Saturday.
Yeah, airing of grievances about we got to talk about the elephant in the room. Kevin, no one's really buying it, man. Yeah. No one's really buying it. Because you're right, it feels like one of those relationship fights where all of a sudden it's, why didn't you pick up the dishes? Oh, you're just like your father. Like something leaks out of there that you weren't ready and expecting. And in this, it seems like this is a team searching for answers, right?
Yep.
It's another one of those things where maybe in a moment, and this is what may concern you if you're a Cavs fan, is we always talk about accountability in the world of sports, and when things are going wrong, you look for everyone to step up and accept their portion of the blame. And so if everyone's finger pointing and trying to find someone to blame for what's gone wrong, and this is what you land on, something that is not even close to the source of the ills plaguing your team right now, that would concern me, because we are so far away from finding the truth that we're just falling back onto the easiest thing in the world. Let's blame Kevin.
Well, why is that the easiest thing in the world? To me, that's the bigger issue. Why is it always... We should trade Kevin Love. Why is it Kevin? He's averaging almost 19 points, and he's almost basically averaging a double-double, 18.5 points, 9.4 boards per game. Why is it always Kevin Love's fault?
I don't know. I mean, he's taken 13 shots. Isaiah now 14 shots. LeBron 18 shots. So I'm with you, Mike. This is what came out of the meeting. There better have been more, because this team is floundering right now. And if this is the headline, maybe it's because it was the most fiery thing talked about. But boy, they have a lot of ills, it seems, they need to rectify before the playoffs start. And again, this has been every January for Cleveland since LeBron's been back. So I'm not ready to sit there and go, oh my God, they're not going to be able.
You don't tell me it doesn't feel different this year?
It feels a little different, but I'm still not ready to throw in the towel and say somebody else is going to overtake them.
Is this true? We got this? Wow. Woj really broke through with something. Apparently we have exclusive audio of what went on in that meeting. So let's listen in.
The tradition of Festivus begins with the airing of grievances. I got a lot of problems with you people. Now you're going to hear about it.
Obviously, that wasn't the actual audio, but we thought it was important to play.
Good thing you said that. Do you think people couldn't figure that one out?
In this day and age, when you put on Twitter, hey, was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? And you get 4,000 responses. Yeah. The Germans didn't bomb Pearl Harbor. You have to literally take nothing for granted.
Again, I think in these team meetings, that's kind of what happens is you kind of start going all over the place, and you start to get into areas maybe that the meeting wasn't meant to go. And if this is what we're taking out of that meeting to try and help the Cleveland Cavaliers get squared away for the end of the season and the playoffs, man, I don't know.
I just want to know what else we want to blame Kevin for now. Like, is Kevin going to have to be the Christ figure that just absorbs all of our sins?
Seems so.
Can we blame Kevin Love for the fact that Game of Thrones and BoJack Horseman aren't coming back till 2019?
Yeah.
The fact that Jay-Z and Kanye didn't make Watch the Throne 2?
Right.
The fact that we're all probably going to die in a brutal zombie apocalypse? Like, these are all things that I heard this morning, so apparently that's how comfortable we're getting.
Is it his fault that the asteroid is coming so close to Earth on Super Bowl Sunday?
That thing.
It is, huh?
It's like...
You know what it is?
Basically going to skim.
You know what it is? It's Armageddon.
There you go.
Where's Bruce Willis? Send him up with everybody. Are you kidding me? Everybody mocks me because I love that movie. We're going to need him and his crew to get up there and blow that thing up.
At this point, they're going to send Kevin Love up, and they're just going to hand him the short straw. Be like, not Kev, that's you. Go press that button, fam.
That's exactly right.
You got to stay and make sure we drill down.
Uh-huh.
Then there's also Deep Impact. I love, everything comes in twos. Like Armageddon and Deep Impact came out within like 6 months of each other.
Yeah, don't you mock Armageddon.
No, I'm not. Well, it's okay.
Yeah.
It was a little over the top, but I enjoyed it.
I have no idea what you mean.
I enjoyed it.
I love you.
Yeah.
An oil drilling team going up on an asteroid at 800 feet.
the hand of the daughter of the bravest man I've ever had the pleasure of meeting.
Meet over the top. You have no idea what you're talking about.
That makes all the sense that you would bring that up, because we'll have Adnan Virk of Cinephile Podcast
See that?
talking about
He'll fill everybody in how great that movie was.
The Oscar nominations coming out later today. Amazingly, Armageddon did not receive any at that time.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Trey Wingo and Mike Golic Sr., the longtime outstanding linebacker for the Patriots, actually started with the Steelers, then went to the Patriots and finished up with Kansas City, was named the new head coach of the Tennessee Titans. He came over from the Houston Texans, where he was the defensive coordinator for one season.
Right.
Longtime linebacker coach down there. Interesting that he goes from a team in the AFC South to another team in the AFC South. And he had his introductory press conference.
Yes, he did.
Now, normally at these introductory press conferences, they're usually, bland platitudes of, we're going to turn this thing around. We've got this. He's the greatest thing ever. But in a really refreshing moment of candor, Mike Vrabel sort of stumbled into something and talked about how we get players ready for the NFL, and this is what he had to say.
The NFL has the greatest farm system in the world. We pay our farm system coaches $10 million to develop players. Nick Saban is our farm system. Urban Meyer is our farm system. So those are the types of players that they're developing. Those are the types of players that are playing in high school. That's where the game's at. I mean, Tyler's team didn't have a tight end in the school, let alone one on the roster. And so, we're going to find those types of players, but that's where the game's at. You have to try to be creative in what you're doing. You have to cause conflict. That's what these guys are doing. They're taking great athletes and they're putting them in good positions to succeed. And so we're going to do similar things, but again, we're never going to put our quarterback in harm's way.
Okay. So,
i.e., not too much read option.
Correct. Yeah, correct. But the most interesting thing to come out of that is him basically acknowledging what we all know.
Yeah.
And what everybody understands, but no one ever says it in that blank of a statement. Hey, look, the way we develop players is we pay our college coaches all this money, and we don't pay the players anything in college to become our farm system. Essentially, he's just saying we've got the greatest free system in the world to develop players.
They do, and it's the truth. They absolutely do. I mean, I while I don't think it was a revelation to anybody, it was just like, oh, yeah, that's exactly what's going on right now. So I don't think it should be a surprise. I think it's just a surprise somebody said it as blatantly as he said it.
It's a surprise someone in the system who benefits from it says it. Because usually the people in power and all this, like, you would never hear any of the college coaches treat it this way because they all have to keep up the, NCAA guys that this is about developing the whole person and all of these things. Mike Vrabel's just reminding you that they don't pay those college coaches to make you a person fit to enter the real world. They don't pay college coaches to make sure that you go to class. They pay college coaches to make sure you go out there and play damn good football.
Yeah, and which is exactly what they're supposed to get paid for, correct?
Well, yeah, no, it is, but yeah. I guess it flies in the face of what the NCAA would like you to believe because they want you to believe that these are teachers and that they have an investment in the young men.
None of that is true.
And some of them do.
You're
there
right.
are some coaches, and when you get down to the position level, and even head coaches that you hear about are definitely engaged, but for the most part, and I'm understanding of this, like those coaches don't get to keep their job because of a great academic success rate.
Right.
They get to keep their job because of wins and losses, but again, rarely do the people that benefit from this power structure actually speak this honestly about it.
Well, look, here's the situation, okay? You have basically Mike Vrabel acknowledging that the NCAA college football system is basically, to the NFL people, the farm system for how they develop players.
Right, to the NFL, yes.
To the NFL. So let's take a look at minor league hockey or AAA, AA baseball, all the developmental leagues around the world in basketball. What's the one difference in all those other farm systems? Those players are getting paid to be part of that farm system.
But there's also another big difference is minor league teams are associated with the major league team. The NCAA isn't associated with the NFL. They're two separate entities.
They're not officially associated. They could not be more associated.
But they're not associated, Trey. They're not.
Well,
does it sing? Well, answer me this question,
okay.
Trey. The Mets, pick any major league team. Do they have a single A, double A, triple A that are part of their team? Is Alabama part of any NFL team?
Alabama's a part of a lot of NFL teams these days.
But are they? You know what I mean? They're not. They're not.
You're exactly right. I'm not disputing the fact that the NCAA and the NFL are two separate entities. But the NCAA factory is basically what the NFL counts on for them to develop their players.
I get that. That's I don't want to say an unintended consequence, but that's part of it because the colleges don't look at it that way. The colleges are trying to win a national championship. How many times have we talked about, Urban Meyer should have been coaching Tim Tebow and getting him ready for the NFL? And no, he shouldn't. He shouldn't. He should be coaching Tim Tebow to help Florida win however they're going to win. Whether it's a running quarterback, a throwing quarterback, whatever it is, it's not his job to prepare him to be a quarterback in the NFL. It's his job to win as a head coach at Florida with the people he has.
To me, the connection is immaterial in the way that you're trying to reference in this because the idea that Trey's hinting at is the idea that in those systems there's money to go around for these players.
Agreed.
The difference here is the connection with the NFL has nothing to do with that. The NCAA makes enough money in its own right on all of this in a system where you're paying these coaches $10 million a year and we see all these bonuses where there is no kickback for these guys. Where this to me resonates the most is just the way they view it. You are a transaction. And we talked about this when we mentioned Trae Young before, where you want this idea and this belief that especially as a parent when you're handing your son or daughter off to whatever coach it is, that they are being viewed and they're going to have this holistic approach that develops the whole person. And when it comes to big-time college athletics, you can't expect that anymore because there's too much money in the system. There's too much at stake for these coaches that are people, too, that have to look out for their families. And so if you're a kid now, hearing this honesty to me is just a chance to make sure, if you hadn't already, adjust your viewpoint.
Yes.
Like we hear all of these transfer rules coming out, and Josh Allen's a great example of this because Josh Allen just came out and said, I am more accurate than my percentage says.
Right.
If so facto, my team wasn't very good. And what did we talk about the other day? What happens if some really good players at those levels decide, I want to transfer to a place where I will have weapons. Yeah, those smaller teams lose out, but you know what it does? It puts Josh Allen in the best position to succeed,
right?
Because at the end of the day, this is a transaction, and you are only as good as those people believe you are coming out of the farm system.
Listen, the one thing that we should all sort of get around, that don't ever say there's not money. There's always plenty of money. The question is, should it go to the players? Because they are, in essence, ipso facto, heretofore, the farm system for the NFL.
They are. I get what you're saying, but they're also their own independent thing. And you're right. I guess my point is they shouldn't be. When you made the comparison of minor league, it's like they should be paid because of what they're doing, bringing players to the NFL. Let's remember, 1% of players in college go to the NFL.
You're exactly right.
If you want to say they should be paid, that's fine because the NCAA has enough money to pay them. They are their own separate entity. I'll listen to that story, but I'm just not going along with the whole they should be paid because they're a minor league to the NFL. The NCAA can handle it themselves if they wanted to.
Oh yeah, listen,
but they don't want to.
You just said it. If they wanted to,
sure. Because
the argument is, how are you going to pay him? How are you going to do this?
Right.
Well, you have to want to decide to do it.
You have to.
We put a man on the moon. We can.
You have to want to figure it out.
We can collide antimatter, for God's sakes. Everybody has a phone that in their hand is basically a computer in your pocket and an international broadcasting system. Okay, if you wanted to do this, you could do it. The question is, do people want to admit what Mike Vrabel just admitted?
Well, and to your point, Dad, about this not being connected, that's not the way Vrabel makes it sound,
I know.
right?
Yeah.
Like the way Vrabel makes it sound is like, man, we got this gamed. Like, we have figured this out because we remember a lot of the rules about when kids can leave early and how long they can come out of college. Those are, if I'm not mistaken, NFL rules. Those are collectively bargained rules, right? That guys have to be a certain amount of time removed from high school in order to be eligible for the draft.
3 years removed from your class.
Yeah, because people always talked about that. You know, why couldn't Leonard Fournette leave after his first year? And you make the point correctly, as always, that with the Players Association, you're operating in the best interest of the whole, not a select few in this. But so this is something that the NFL has controlled because they've got a stake in the way that system works. And to an extent, because of that, they've got some control over how it works.
It's interesting. We're having this conversation about how this affects the NFL. The other side of this is how this affects the college system because what it sounded like from Mike Vrabel is he's Nick Saban works for me.
Yeah,
Urban Meyer works for me.
I didn't think Nick would take that one, huh?
That's exactly it.
His former boss in Urban Meyer, by the way.
That's right.
There's really two ramifications here.
Yeah.
What this means for the NFL and what it means, and because everybody's going to be asking all these college coaches this exact question.
Yeah.
How do you feel about what Mike Vrabel had to say?
Without question.
And that may be the next part of this discussion we'll have.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
What a day, what a show, what a time.
I tell you what, a great sports night last night. Yeah. No doubt about it.
1, 2, 3, 4. Hey there, I'm a glue stick, so I have one job. I glue kid stuff. So sorry for being jealous of Geico, who does a ton more. Like give you 24/7 access to thousands of licensed agents. And Geico has been around for over 75 years and has a 97% customer satisfaction rating. While I've just got mediocre adhesive skills, Geico also has an award-winning mobile app. Uh-oh, arts and crafts time. No eating the glue stick. Miss Lydia!
Geico. Expect great savings and a whole lot more.
This is the build-up now. We're getting ready. You know, the hype is starting to begin for the Super Bowl. Obviously, we know the participants, and now we're in that lull week. We'll have the Pro Bowl to distract us for a little bit. The Skills Challenge on Thursday, which is going to be fun. Then the game on Sunday. But we're all gearing towards this, the biggest, most watched sporting event of the year every year.
Yes.
And if you're a Giants fan, this particular Super Bowl is very painful because, Giants and Eagles, bitter rivals, NFC East, and then you got the Patriots. The Giants have taken them down, the only team to do that
yes, they have.
in the Super Bowl, but they don't like seeing the Patriots there. So the idea out there is there something that Giants fans can cling to that would make them feel better about Super Bowl Sunday? And apparently, Mike, in some strange, bizarre way, the possible death of all of us is something that Giants fans are maybe thinking about would be a good thing for them.
Yeah, we can look forward to the potential of this asteroid hitting Earth instead of either Philadelphia or New England winning a Super Bowl, huh? Wow.
Yeah, and this asteroid is huge. Apparently, the size of it's 202 AJ129 has been classified as potentially hazardous by NASA. It's a good thing the government shutdown is over then if this thing's hurtling towards Earth.
How about that? It's going to fly past us at 67,000 miles per hour unless it hits us.
How close do they think it's going to come?
The asteroid, the size of it is around 0.7 miles long.
Okay. Making it longer than the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. Which
I'm sure everybody out there is going, oh, yeah, longer than the Burj.
I'm trying to figure out what that comparison is, but let's just say it's something that's rather substantially large in Dubai.
Set to pass by our planet on the 4th of February at a distance of around 2.6 million miles away, which is relatively close in space terms.
Which makes you understand just how big space is. It's going to miss us by 2.6 miles. But we should be concerned.
Yeah, space is one of those things that I love, but once you start talking about it too much, when Neil deGrasse Tyson, starts talking about that stuff, I start to lose my mind a little bit.
By the way, thanks to Stanzik for finally doing something worthy. The Burj Khalifa is the tallest structure in the world.
Oh, there you go.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Beardo, as he's known around these parts. We appreciate that.
So what would happen if it hit us? If there was an impact? Scientists warned that the very severe global impact would last several years, causing the world to become a much darker, colder, and drier place if it were to hit us. Which only just, again, we need Bruce Willis and the Armageddon Boys.
And you know what?
Right?
I owe you an apology.
Yes, you do.
I owe that movie an apology.
Yes,
because
you do.
You were talking about your love for Armageddon earlier, and I thought it was maybe a little overdone.
You were ripping it.
I did, although I do watch it every once in a while when it comes on.
I watch it every time I pass it. If it's on, I stop and I watch it. My wife leaves the room.
And then I said, well, it's not like it was nominated for any Oscars or anything.
Nominated for 4
and then it was.
Academy Awards. Okay.
And what were those Academy Awards?
Best Original Song.
I don't want to. Okay, that song. That's
Best Sound.
Okay.
Best Sound Effects Editing.
Okay.
Best Visual Effects.
Did it win any?
No.
Okay. But you're right,
nominated.
Though. You're right.
Come on.
I shorted it 4 noms.
Are you?
I did.
I think
did that.
I think Neil deGrasse Tyson said this movie broke just about every space law there was. Because I think he was on with Dan Le Batard and Stu Gatz, and I believe it was, and they were asking which movies were kind of giving you a good indication of what space, whatever, would be like, travel and all that.
And that was the actual opposite of one?
He basically said that one broke about every rule that you could break.
What was the other one that came out a few years ago with George Clooney and Sandra Bullock?
Oh, yeah.
What was the name of that movie? Stanzik, help me out here. The name of that movie with Brett, research, get on it.
Horrible.
It wasn't Interstellar. What was it called? What? It was the Sandra Bullock movie with George Clooney where George Clooney died. Sandra was left alone in space. Gravity. And she used the fire extinguisher to maneuver through space. It was like, all the physicists were like, okay. Let's pull the ripcord on that idea pretty quick.
That was a tough one to watch.
That also happened in WALL-E, by the way, and it was great.
Yeah, but that's animated, a little different. This was life or death.
Brett, did you just go a WALL-E reference? Nice job out of you.
Look, man, WALL-E is a perfect movie.
Okay, we're not discussing WALL-E. You brought WALL-E into the discussion here. But the gravity one, I heard a lot of people say that could never happen. That could never happen.
So the bottom line is the comparative to whoever Bruce Willis is in the real world today, is NASA getting them and his crew together to go up into space and blow this thing up?
Or how about, instead
of get to 800 feet.
Instead of treating drillers to be astronauts, why don't you just treat astronauts to be drillers?
No.
And there goes the whole premise of Armageddon.
That's exactly right. Never would have had the movie.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
It was all sort of one big giant Jell-O mold.
It's very interesting where that went.
Bud Light to the rescue.
Yes.
So we have slept on this story all day. I think we're going to do it for the last hour of the show. We're just going to do the story again and again. Lane Johnson, the right tackle, all pro for the Eagles, likes to say things. And we love the fact that he likes to say things.
Yes, he does.
So he said, what did he say, Mike, before the season began?
It all started with a Lane Johnson quote. I think if we have a few big years and make the playoffs, if we win a Super Bowl, I'm giving out beer to everybody.
Now, when he's not talking about the team.
No.
He's not talking about everybody else in the front office.
Talking about everybody in Philadelphia.
The entire city of Philadelphia.
Right.
And as we saw from Championship Sunday, that would be a lot of beer.
That would be a lot of beer, and that's where Bud Light jumped in.
Comes into the rescue.
Bud Light jumped in, and they said, let's make a bet, win it all, and the party is on us.
There you go. So Bud Light has stepped in and said, we have not forgotten about our commitment to Lane Johnson, the Eagles, and the city of Philadelphia. We will be sharing plans soon, but in the interest of not jinxing the team ahead of their upcoming games, we are not going to unveil any plans at the time, a Bud Light spokesman told CBS Philadelphia. We wish the Eagles the best of luck this week.
Yeah, how mad would everybody get if they came out with this big promotion about when the Eagles win, this is what we're going to do before the Super Bowl.
That would be
Everybody
bad.
would be crushing them, so they said they're going to hold off on the plans. But they have something big planned if the Eagles win and some beer. Listen, that's just fantastic promotion on their part.
Brett, can we sort of put in statistical numbers? Let's say the average Philadelphia Eagles fan drinks, like, on a regular day, I don't know, 37 beers.
So
let's just from looking at some of the celebrations and things that went on before, I think 37's a good number, right, for the average Eagles fan.
Yes.
So let's try and figure out how much beer we're talking about that Bud Light is willing to put to the forefront there for all Eagles fans to pay off what Lane Johnson has said.
Philadelphia population in 2016, last check, was 1.568 million.
So we're looking at like 45 million beers.
We're looking at a lot of beer.
A lot of beers.
Lot of beer.
And I think 37, maybe 37 and a half is a good number.
What plan will they have to distribute beer in Philadelphia?
Do you need like an actual city resident? You can't say, I'm from the Philly area, like Southern New Jersey, you're out.
I think you just get about 1,000 vendors that you would get at the stadium just walking around the streets, handing out beers.
Throwing out beers.
Handing out beers.
But you need some sort of qualification. Because you can't be like, well, I live 30 minutes outside the city up the Schuylkill Expressway.
Yeah.
You know, that doesn't work. I think it has to be, if we're talking about Philadelphia, it has to be literally in Philadelphia, right? Don't you think?
You would think so.
There has to be some sort of parameter.
I'm not gonna begrudge anybody that doesn't live within Philadelphia to try and get in there and get themselves some free beer, because that's one of the greatest things about beer is the word free in front of it.
Well, what's my favorite beer? The next one.
Yeah.
Or the
exactly
free, or
right.
the free one.
If it's free, give it to me. It's for me, and give me 3.
If it's free, it's for me, and I'll take 3.
That's exactly
Absolutely.
right.
So let me just say to Lane Johnson for doing this, putting it out there, well done. To the city of Philadelphia, who might be consuming all this beer, good for you. And to my good folks at Anheuser-Busch and Bud Light, let me just say, dilly dilly.
Dilly dilly.
Nicely done. All right, coming up, Oscar nominations are out.
Yes, they are.
And we'll have our resident film critic and Armageddon lover, I'm assuming, Adnan. I love saying his name, Adnan. Adnan Verk will join us to tell you who's going to win. We've got it all covered, from the Super Bowl to free beer to the Oscars. Literally, what other show do you need?
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
Let's not expect too much. There's only one person out there that's expecting way too much out of this guy too early. We know who that is. It's his father.
All right, we have been building up to this part of the show all day, and I'm excited about this just because I know that I don't think he could be any happier than he is today. Adnan Verk joins us. He does. I'm not sure what he doesn't do for the ESPN family of networks, whether it's college football, college basketball, baseball tonight. Also, his podcast, The Cinephile, the Adnan Verk Movie Podcast, joins us in studio, giving us a straight talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless, best phones, best networks, no contracts, on the Oscar noms that are going in.
Yes.
And I have to say, I was watching behind the glass where Adnan was, but we were going through what's trending. He came running in from somewhere. He's sweating buckets. He's shrugging. Where were you that you hauled butt over to get here so fast?
I had to get my kids to school first, and then I'm normally not in this morning at this time of day, so there's a traffic issue. And Dan had said 9:05 tight. I said, listen, this is the biggest sports talk radio show in the country. Everyone wants to talk NFL, and you're generous enough to squeeze me in for some Oscar nominations. I said 9:05. You missed this 9:05. When you're Golic or say you're done. Now, first and foremost, the show's been great.
Yeah.
You can't come and be a guest without bringing a gift. So red beans and rice mix, which
you bought us.
It's not quite red beans and rice as if I made it.
Yeah.
But when I was in New Orleans recently for the Sugar Bowl, I said, you guys like food, so I have a red beans and rice mix.
How long you known me, Adnan?
6 years
How
now.
long you done the show with me?
About 6 years.
Ever seen me eat red beans and rice in the morning? I know.
At some point you can prepare.
How about just a beignet or
you know
a
what I mean a
donut?
lot of?
Yeah.
Tim Hortons. All right?
Yeah, but
where are those?
Back them across the board.
Are you kidding me?
This is the most feeble gift anyone has ever brought
Terrific.
to the Golic and Wingo
It's the
set.
thought that counts, and that's all that matters. Adam.
One thought
I think
to you,
it's-
Trey, before we get rolling the nominations. The last time I saw you, you said, I really want to see Downsizing. And I said, yeah, I love Alexander Payne.
Yeah.
You didn't see it, did you?
I have not seen it yet.
It's horrific. It's one of the worst movies
So
of the
don't
year.
see
I'm
it.
so
Thank God you see it.
disappointed.
Yeah,
I'm
I
so
wanted to see it.
He's one of my
disappointed. in that.
favorite writer directors. Sideways,
Yes.
About Schmidt, Election. Obviously, Damon's very funny. It's awful. It's Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, and it goes in a wild direction.
Why do you think it missed so badly?
You know, I think sometimes with these directors...
Christoph Waltz is in it, for God's sake.
And he's awful in it, and I love him, but he could be more arrogant and preening and dislikable as a character. The story, for those who haven't seen it, Downsizing is about Matt Damon and his wife Kristen Wiig decide to become literally 6 inches tall.
Right.
Help with overpopulation. So it's one of these satirical science fiction theaters. I know it's funny, it's sweet, and the first 3 minutes is fine. But then after that,
first 3 minutes?
Yeah. And then
what
after
about
that,
the other 98?
Yeah, and you go, isn't this supposed to be a comedy? And especially if you've seen the trailer, you'd think it's something funny.
Oh,
light.
it's
Instead,
not.
It's very serious
Oh,
and
I
very
hate
heavy-handed, and it's about the world and what's happening.
Oh,
and
they
you go,
lull you in by making you think it's a comedy.
I don't, exactly.
They went bait and switch on you.
They went absolutely
No.
I'd rather go see Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Listen, before we get into this stuff, we got to relive a little bit because Trey took a shot with the asteroid coming towards Earth here.
Yes, 2.6 million miles. It's just going to miss us.
I naturally brought up the greatest space movie of all time in Armageddon.
We need to Spaceballs.
No, we need to send
May the Schwartz be with you.
We need to send the real Harry Stamper up there to blow up this asteroid. Just
John Candy.
So you are the movie guy. Just tell everybody how great of a movie Armageddon is.
No, I'm with Trey on this one. I think that movie's terrible. I think that 905 came quickly. Burke's out.
All right, thanks very much. We appreciate it. So I'm glad we got that settled.
No. Did you email that to me, Brett? Just say it. Give me some.
I'm saying so. Armageddon, 4 Oscar nominations.
4 Oscar nominations.
Okay, but it was not in a major category.
Hey, you know what got 4 Oscar
Brett.
nominations this year? Call Me By Your Name, which might win Best Picture.
Yeah, there's so many other...
You know what? It might, but it won't.
Yeah.
Let's be clear about that. By the way, here's why maybe, Mike, you have a point that it's not maybe best that Adnan sided with me. You ready?
Moonlight won Best Picture!
Yeah. Moonlight won Best Picture.
That was Adnan screaming, Moonlight won Best Picture! Moonlight won Best Picture!
Trey, you dream of being a sportscaster, and one day you're known for yelling Moonlight won Best Picture. This is the life I dream.
I'm going into this with a sour attitude because the greatest space movie of all time has been ripped apart.
What, Gravity?
No.
With a fire extinguisher got her out?
Gravity.
Sandra Bullock.
All right, let's try to focus.
All right.
We got to focus. So the noms are out.
Yeah.
And we got here are the Best Picture nominations.
Sure.
Call Me By Your Name, Darkest Hour, Dunkirk, Get Out, which, by the way, got a ton of major nominations.
Yes.
Lady Bird, Phantom Thread, The Post, The Shape of Water, and 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri.
What did they nominate? Every picture that came
10.
out? I mean, seriously?
10. They used to do 5, but now they want people 5 to 10 because they want more people to watch.
More inclusive, because in the past, Get Out wouldn't have made it. You know what it is, Mike? It's the Dark Knight rules. Because the Dark Knight didn't make it, and they go, this is hypocrisy. Like, we love the fact the Academy loves these.
Okay, so they
let's get some
open
up a little bit.
I can go there.
Now, of those 10, so it's one of the most wide-open races in years, guys. So what's going to win Best Picture? Now, 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri has a lot of momentum. That won the SAG Award Ensemble, won the Golden Globe Best Picture, but it's very polarizing. Either of you have seen it or no?
I have not heard.
We may go see it tonight, actually.
Okay. Heard it was very good.
Definitely have to see it, but it's ferocious is the best word for it. It's about a woman, Frances McDormand, who is grieving the rape and murder of her daughter, and then she's trying to get the attention of the local police sheriff named Woody Harrelson, who surprisingly got nominated for supporting actor, which is great. And Sam Rockwell is the character with which the whole story changes. He's a racist, vile character, and he goes this journey that either you go with it and say this is an amazing movie, or you say I just can't really go along with this theory that this guy's all right. But I thought it was brilliant. It's wonderfully written. If you liked In Bruges, it's the same guy, Martin McDonagh, who wrote it.
I loved In Bruges.
Great script.
And by the way, Colin Farrell has the greatest gift shrug of all time from In Bruges. I think In Bruges is one of my favorite movies. So if I like In Bruges,
you're going to love it, Trey.
What do you think wins here then?
But I think, Mike, Lady Bird is going to win, and I'll explain why.
I liked Lady Bird.
I've not seen it.
I enjoyed it.
I'll tell you why. I think that what happens with the ballot is you got to rank it 1 through 10. So the people like me, the cinephiles, really love a movie like Phantom Thread, Daniel Day-Lewis's final movie, Paul Thomas Anderson.
Didn't he retire like 5 years ago?
No, he said this is it for me after they were done shooting, which P.T. Anderson said, maybe I had such a good time, I can never capture that again. Or it was such a bad experience, I'm never doing that again. But that's his last movie. But people like me are going to love that. It feels like 1950s Hitchcock. It's a beautiful film. But Lady Bird, everybody who sees it either goes, I loved it, it reminded me of my mother-daughter relationship, or at worst, it was a really good movie. I preferred Shape of Water, or I preferred The Post, but it was really good. So I think when you total up the ballots cumulatively, just like in sports, I think Lady Bird ends up being the best picture. 3 Billboards, Shape of Water is wonderful, but it's weird. It's about a mute woman and a fish man. Like, I loved it, but
a mute woman and a fish man?
Yeah.
Not a fisherman, but a fish man.
A fish man, not a fisherman.
Right.
Like a merman.
Correct. And they fall in love, and it's very 1950s romantic, and it's sweet, and it's like, some people are going to love it, some people are going to go, I'm not going to watch the movie, but a mute woman and a fish man.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with a big no on that one. Not gonna lie. Trey and I both did not like a movie you loved, and that's Dunkirk. Did not like it.
All right. Yeah.
Well,
Seth Markman will not stop wearing me out about this.
Yeah.
By the way,
by the way, Seth and I saw this movie. We have a tradition every year when we go to the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
We pick a movie to watch because, we're in Canton, Ohio, and we got a long way to wait for the ceremony, so we go watch a movie. We watched Dunkirk at the movie, and I thought it was visually stunning and wonderful, but there was no development of any of the characters. I wanted to be invested in some of these people, and I didn't know is it this guy? Is it that guy? What's going on here? I felt that was missing.
Nolan said he wanted to make a movie where it just started in the third act. I don't have to explain. Here's Jimmy and his mom, Bessie, and they run a corner store in London. This is just...
So no build-up.
You care about them because they're people. You care about them because they're basic humanity. You don't need to find out who they are.
That's the flaw in the ointment there. If everything is played out over human civilization.
Great score by Hans Zimmer.
Very good.
70% of the movie is scored really well. I want to mention a movie. I don't know if Mike saw it, but you and I generally agree with these types of movies. And we did see it. Logan. Which is, I thought it was one of the best movies of the year.
Everybody loved Logan.
Yes, I loved it.
I never saw any of the other Wolverine movies, so I thought if I missed it, maybe I wouldn't be able to catch up.
Right.
But people told me it's been really good.
You mentioned Get Out Train. I'm glad that got in, because that's a major movie that people have seen, which is good. You can't watch the Oscars and go, okay,
who are these movies?
Who are these movies? You have to be inclusive. And I would have loved if Logan had got in.
I would agree with that.
So let's move on to Best Actor.
Sure. No Tom Hanks for The Post, which is a bit of a surprise.
I was surprised The Post got nominated for Best Picture.
Wasn't that good, right?
Right? I was a little heavy-handed.
Absolutely. I mean, it's preaching to that market. I mean, listen, if you're a journalist and a liberal and grew up in the 70s, all in. But I could just see the Trump crowd going, oh, great, so the journalists are the heroes again, blah, blah, blah. It's very sermonizing. And it's not the best work of Hanks. It's not the best work of Streep. It's not the best work of Spielberg. I thought it was very good and entertaining.
It's an important movie on a lot of levels, but I just wanted it to be better.
No question. That's a perfect way of describing it.
Is this Gary Oldman?
It's an absolute lock, and I've got to be honest with you. He's great, and he's excellent in the movie, but it's a bit of a snoozer.
I've seen the movie, and
Darkest Hour.
It's about, for those people that don't know, when he plays Winston Churchill, trying to decide whether or not, which is people that don't know history, whether or not London should make a deal with Germany. And so Germany can take over England.
I won't be seeing that one either.
World War II. Look, it's interesting. If you like history, it's very good, but I totally understand your point.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of, there's not a lot of Armageddon scenes
no, there's not.
in Darkest Hour, okay? So, Mike, it might not be your cup of tea.
A lot of old white guys in British accents for an hour 45.
And then that one diverse scene on the train, on the tube. There's that one diverse scene on the tube where I see what's going on here. I get what you guys are going
I'll
for.
I'll sit down with the red beans and rice before I go ahead and watch that one.
So, in other words, there's no chance you're watching that movie.
So Goldman, you think there? How about actress?
Actress is going to be, I'd love to see, because Saoirse Ronan, this Lady Bird craze, and I love The Shape of Water with Hawkins, but McDormand's a lock. Best performance since Fargo. She's ferocious.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she's
and that's
awesome.
for 3 Billboards Outside Ebbing, Missouri. Okay.
By the way, you've helped me with one of the things that I've dealt with for years.
Yeah.
Charisse? Is that what you said?
Oh, Saoirse.
Saoirse
Ronan. It's a tough one.
Saoirise.
Ask Dan Stanzik, our Irishman.
I know.
I did like that movie.
I would say, for you and Chris, and obviously with Sydney, you must have related to some.
I really enjoyed that movie. So, as wrapping this up, which movie wins the most?
So I think it's going to be either 3 Billboards or Lady Bird. But, it's a new Oscars now. This is not going to be in the years past where Schindler's List would win 11 Oscars. Right. Now it's much more balanced. I think supporting actress is going to be either Laurie Metcalf for Lady Bird or Allison Janney for I, Tonya. Speaking of sports fans, if you haven't seen I, Tonya yet, it's terrific.
Right.
I mean, if you think,
and she plays,
she plays the mom.
She's fantastic.
She steals the movie.
Yeah. And I heard the real mom is like, hey, no, that's not nowhere near like what I am.
Chain smoking, foul mouth, mom from hell. Janney's unbelievable. And obviously, sports fans, we all lived it. But Margot Robbie's brilliant, and she's nominated for actress. She's not going to win. But Janney, I think, maybe her or Metcalf. Supporting actor, I love Willem Dafoe. We had him on Cinephile. He's a great actor for a long time. But I think it's going to be Sam Rockwell for Billboards. So I think Billboards and Lady Bird will carry the day. So hopefully, Trey, you see it tonight.
The biggest snub there's going to be?
Well, James Franco for The Disaster Artist, because it's a really funny movie, and he's great in it. But once this story came out about sexual harassment allegations against him, that cost him his nomination.
All right, so Adnan Virk, Cinephile, the Adnan Virk Movie Podcast. Take a breath. You were awesome. You hauled butt in here to get this done.
You heading out there again?
I was going to say, I will be going to the Oscars again.
You're going to the Oscars one more time? So we'll hear more of this?
Who might want Best Picture?
We'll get the sequel to that.
No matter what, I'll say it. Even if it doesn't make any sense, I'll say it.
Very, very good.
Thank you, fellas.
And
thanks,
just let me, real quickly, Brooklyn. Did you like Brooklyn?
I didn't. I thought it was terrible.
Okay, thank you. I went to
see
this
movie overrated movies
with Saoirse, whatever her name is.
Again, the Irish,
Very good actress, but I was like, this movie is like, come on, go somewhere.
Do we need another story about Irish immigration? I'll watch Gangs of New York again. I'm good with that.
That was a good one.
Bill the Butcher.
Amsterdam,
I'm New York.
Cinephile, the Adnan Verk Movie Podcast. Thanks for hauling in here. This is a big day for you.
Go
obviously.
Eagles.
This has been the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast. Make sure to subscribe on the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, and to listen every weekday morning at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and the ESPN app.
Attention shoppers, clean up on aisle 14. Clean up on aisle 14. Someone dropped a jar of pickles. Pickles. Kosher pickles.
Beatboxing at a big box store. Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
A red minivan has the lights on in the parking lot.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Geico.